Might as well tweet.
Welcome to the boat. I don't know. Did I do that wrong?
You're always stepping on my thunder, man.
I know. I don't think that's how the expression goes, but
stepping on my thunder. How do you step on thunder? Who throws
thunder?
What am I, Zeus?
Yeah, you're never supposed to, when you broadcast with someone, you're never supposed to step on their call. I've heard many of them say that. Like when a guy is making the great call, the color guy shouldn't be cheering, those like one-horse operation places, that are like, as the three's going in, yay! Like it happens every now and then on a really bad local broadcast.
That's a thing that I really enjoy from Adam Amin. He lets when people are allowed in stadiums, he lets like the crowd kind of do the thing. But then you see those like cell phone videos or like the camera cuts that are like that is just showing the broadcasters, and he's losing his mind, but he's doing it without actually saying anything.
Grabbing arms of people. Yes, yeah. Adam's great. Adam's great. One time, I thought I had him roped in to do a podcast, and then something fell apart. I don't know why that would ever happen with us, but then another time I said,
think the world fell apart. I think it was pretty well timed out for
that's true.
About a year ago from today. We'll see. Who knows what?
Yeah, as the calendar would have it. So we're really here. We've got probably a lot of people who are confused as to what they're watching. We're here to do a little post game, live cast.
What else is new?
Yeah, if you visited this URL, you probably know to expect confusion. Purdue yet again sweeps Indiana, and I don't know if you know this, Anish. I think this is in the bylaws though, because there was no Purdue-Indiana football game in the fall, because Purdue swept. I believe they get the Oaken bucket. I think that's written somewhere. I'm not going to bother looking it up.
We get the bucket. We get the bucket for sure. You can make a replica of Archie Miller's head and put it in the bucket, and that's how it's being displayed for the next year.
Are there no barbers in Bloomington? Is there no one? And let's not blame COVID, because I don't think he had a good haircut when he was in Ohio either. Now, granted, we're talking about Ohio and Bloomington, so
Archie doesn't get paid enough to to get high quality haircuts.
Oh man,
I had to we're already in the Here's the Thing segment, brought to you by MartinVintage.com. Martin Vintage. Enter Boiled at checkout for money
for
off.
15%. Yes.
When COVID hit, I got my hair cut from an old Italian man who had been cutting hair legitimately in the same place since the 60s.
Okay.
And he took COVID as a sign that maybe he should retire. And so now, instead of paying old Italian man prices, I have to realize that the economy for like haircuts is like haircuts are expensive. It can be expensive, man.
I've been going to the same guy since I was probably, no joke, in like middle school, and he now cuts my kid's hair. And he always would he'd write up a different number on our ticket when I brought it up to the front. And I'll tell you, that all ended when they reopened after the shutdown last year. They were like, we're not doing discounts anymore. We're barely in business, so we're going to charge you full freight.
Oh, there's no family and friends discount. Nope. By the way, if you're watching on Periscope, Twitter, or YouTube, if you put stuff in the link, or if you reply to us, we can theoretically put it up here. Like Mark, who says, already talking about Archie's hair tells everyone what this game was like. Yeah, I have no interest.
That was a bad game. Go on.
I had post-game duty, so I was supposed to be writing about this, and I am so glad. I have nothing to say. I have nothing to write. Nice look. By the way, your knuckles look great, man.
Look, I bought this computer at your behest, and they put the camera on. My fingers are touching the keyboard. That's where they put the camera. I'm not exaggerating.
I see. The problem is I have the same laptop, and the problem is I have spider fingers as it is. So when I get the spider cam going, it's really bad.
Yeah, I always like it when people are like, "You should buy this thing," and then they're like, "Oh, you need to buy all these things that go with it to make it decent." Oh, all right, that's fair.
Listen, you gotta. Now that we're on this work from home thing, you gotta invest in a nice 3D webcam. Beautiful kind of virtual reality webcam. You've got to do.
Theodore Berkey says that. Oh yes, Mitch.
Sorry,
I goes to the same barber as Galloway. That is a good point.
Yeah.
But that's 9. Is that 9 in a row?
8. No, I think it's 8 in a row.
It's
Oh
8.
no,
Okay.
no, I'm sorry. So I think it's 8. 0-8. I think Archie is 0-8 versus Purdue. But yes, the streak might extend a little further if we had research on this.
Well,
We would be able to do it. But continue to make
when
your
it
point.
goes that long, it's amazing. You don't even. It gets to a point where like you're not even tracking it clearly anymore. It's like Ohio State, Michigan in football. Like I know some people keep track of it, but at this point, it just seems like it never happens. Like what a time to be a Purdue student or a Purdue fan. Like, like imagine being there throughout this. It's incredible. Like you don't know anything but dominating them. And it's not like the games are particularly close most of the time.
No, it's very, is very terrible. IU is very terrible. Carson Edwards went through. I wanted to post a little reminder, before for the post game, or before the game started. But yeah, Carson Edwards went through Purdue, went to the Elite Eight, and never lost to IU.
Nope.
It's great. He's perfect. We're talking about Carson Edwards because this game was quite terrible.
Well, and but this team, I mean, I think we're going to be repeating things that we've talked about in the past, but 4 freshmen playing like that, Anish, like in a year or two, what is this team? I mean, I don't want to get super excited. No, that's such a Purdue thing to say. I don't want to get super excited. No, I mean, as a Purdue fan, I don't want to like start over dreaming. But, one of the things I give Boiler Dad credit for, or I remember him saying this because this was very opposite his normal demeanor after a Purdue loss. When we were standing in the KFC Yum Center, a great name.
Just tremendous. Yum brands. I mean, like just all Yum brands. Come at us with the sponsorship deal, Yum.
See how Anish keeps me on the straight and narrow. Don't insult the Yum people. They might pay us.
The Yum people.
I've often been referred to as a Yum person.
I was going to say, I think that's a slur of some kind, the Yum people.
So we were standing there after that awful loss, which the weird thing right now is Virginia's still the defending champs. But we were standing there and he said, this actually makes me feel more confident than ever that Matt Painter can get this team to a Final Four, that loss. And so when you look now at the talent he's continuing to bring in and the fact that this is one of the things I was thinking about bringing up to see what you thought of this. Matt Painter seems to be better than ever at adapting, right? At in-game adjustments. I would say that 8 or 10 years ago, if Purdue started a game like they did today, right? No scoring, even at the under 16, down 7 already, a team that needed a win badly, that it would not have felt good for the rest of it. And then it just felt workmanlike after that. Purdue. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of tweeted it out and I sent it to the group chat that like this felt like a mid-major game. I think someone responded. Someone responded to me that this felt like a December Horizon League game where Purdue just kind of gets it to a certain lead and then turns their brain off and then they're whatever. Exactly. It's like the cartoon where like you're just holding holding the young.
And Archie's underneath it.
Head there.
Archie's under there just flailing like crazy.
And I was gonna say, the Archie versus the Archie and Matt Painter thing might be. I think, by the way, we might have a call in to the Boyle Sports.
I didn't know we could do that.
Yeah, I think we have a call in. Who do we have on the line here?
Hello, it's Carl.
Carl from Bloomington. Carl, go ahead.
Sorry,
that's not appropriate. Don't make fun of Carl.
Yeah. Guys, I got to tell you, I've been listening for a little bit. You guys are really good at this. You ever thought about doing this for a living?
I was just kidding. I thought you were going to go the other way. I thought it was a head fake. I've been listening, and my God, is this terrible. I had to call in and save it.
Just straighten it out. No, you guys sound great. And the funny thing about this is I got to follow the game on a Gamecast and listen to the last 6 minutes with Rob Blackman and Buckets. And I don't think I missed a whole lot. You guys can tell me. But
you got it.
I mean, when they were up, what was it 2-0, 4 minutes into the game or something ridiculous like that? I said, we're in for a ride today, aren't we?
It was awesome. I mean, it was really just showcasing the ability of Indiana, the state of Indiana's basketball. Just the home of basketball is
as it
this
were.
state. We were really.
Well, by the way, I just wanted, since you brought up Blackman, I just wanted to call out. I thought this isn't this game, but as we've talked about, you know, there's only so much you can say about this game. His tribute to Kliz with the first 3 of the game the other day, I thought was fantastic. I thought it sounded so good and it sounded like Kliz, but oh man, that was very cool.
This was was it on the TV broadcast or was it it was on so you were listening to Blackman early in the game? I just
clip. Yes, I go seek things out. And the PA guy in the building, whose name escapes me right now, also did that on the IV call over the PA system, which I thought was
that's
cool.
great. Yes, he did it exactly that way, Dad. It was great to I think what they mentioned on at the end of the game that this is the first obviously Purdue-IU game without Kliz, and Rob had a nice little tribute to him and stuff like that. All of the social stuff that they've been doing, the videos and clips like that they've been putting out, anthology clips of Kliz, they've been they were all really good. And the one that got me was the one, Dowd, that you sent me was that kind of 30 seconds it was like probably almost 2 minutes of Big Ten radio people like giving Kliz his due and bullseye and kind of all.
Yeah, it was very cool. And I can never, I don't know about you guys, and maybe it's just being old, but I can never predict how I'm going to react to people dying anymore. Like, I just don't even know, but with him, I mean, like it choked me up a couple times, and maybe it's just the, like, I think I said this to you guys, that what he meant to me and my, like he was always there, and some of the most fun moments and some of the worst moments. But that's great. They continue to honor him. That's really, really cool. And,
I remember you saying when you did your quick cast when Tiller passed, you said, I feel like I lost an uncle. And I think there's a similar, that's a good way to describe, I think, how people felt with Kliz.
Yep. So tell me, because maybe you guys haven't done it yet. I actually looked at the box scores. I watched numbers, but I didn't watch any of the game action. Just FYI for people out there, I was sitting in aluminum stands watching LBD run a 3,200. And
3,200 seems like a lot of numbers.
Wow, baby.
There's zeros, multiple zeros, lots of zeros, lots of numbers. Anyway, tell me if there was a moment, because based on what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, I can tell you what I think happened. I'm going to review the game probably in the next hour. But were there a couple plays that kind of changed the trajectory of the game for you guys, especially in the first half? It looks like they put a little distance on them. What, about the 7-8 minute mark? And then they did it again. They expanded the lead, and it looked like they were going to go run away from them inside the 10-minute mark when IU had like 31 points and got stuck. But what were the things that changed the game positively and negatively for Purdue? I mean,
what's super weird? So just starting at the end, what was super weird is that it may not have come through if you were only kind of following it on Gamecast. Like, it may have seemed like a more competitive game than it actually was. Like, and it's very weird being a Purdue fan and not expecting, like, having an 8-point lead with 90 seconds left and like thinking that this game was entirely out of hand. But at no moment, I don't know if anybody listening, was feeling this. Like, I was feeling worried. Like, let us know. But like, I was not worried at all anytime in the second half.
No, but that's more a product of IU really just being a bad team this year, despite the talent. They're just a bad team. Like they look sound, everything about them. They just offensively, it's one of the most inept teams I've ever seen play, and I'm surprised they haven't done. Maybe they did it today, but is Trace Jackson Davis? Was he the only story again? Is he all they got?
Yeah, I mean, like, and a couple of people here, like, I think somebody was launching over and over again.
I see. Tennessee was one
Yep,
of 7.
yep.
Because I think he was 1 for 6 is what Blackman said.
Hunter was, yeah.
Tennessee was 1 of 7 from deep. Like,
that's it. Oh, I couldn't remember which guard it was because it was both of them. It was all of the wings, basically.
They had 4 guys to answer the question. I'm looking at the box score. They had 4 guys in double figures, all low double figures. But they shot again 5 of 23 from 3 points and only 38% overall from the floor. So why do they shoot so poor? Because I think that's more against Purdue than anyone else, right? They were dreadful from 3 against Purdue the last time they played.
Yeah. And they are pretty dreadful from 3. Like if you look statistically, they have really one guy that can shoot the 3. That's it.
That doesn't stop them from trying, though.
No, it doesn't.
That's good. That's good. Keep trying, boys. Just keep shooting. Got to shoot your way out of a slump. And your slump may be since 8th grade, but I still think you should try to shoot yourself out of it.
Yeah. So off the air, we had some back and forth, and one thing Michael had to say, which is really alluding to what you guys are both saying, because I got a little anxious, nervous, whatever. It got down to like 5, and then there was a very key standpoint where you had Trace Jackson Davis may have missed a dunk. Edey had a putback dunk, and then there was a tech. Almost, I think that's happened, right? And so that to me, I said to you guys, that looks like that should be the defining moment of the game. That's the one that puts it together. Michael says, no, this game was already done, just like what you were saying. Did you guys feel the exact same way? Or
Yeah, I mean, like, on paper, I'm sure the tech, John M., what did the angry elf get a tech for? I'm sure that
he left the box. That's what the ref said. And he pointed at the ground that made him angrier because he said he didn't leave the box.
On TV, they were confused because it was, they said it may have been something someone from the bench was saying. But it was completely out of hand, by that time. And it seemed like any run that IU was going to make, Purdue was just going to kind of calmly or nonchalantly, entirely.
Like they did, they did the last time they played them, right?
Yeah. The last time I think it was actually, it was it was a much more complete, I don't think, it was ever even, worried at the beginning of the game. It was pretty alarming to see kind of Purdue look so sloppy. But
when you watch that first 4 minutes, you are going to be shocked at how well they just like complete bumbling passes and weird attempted shots and just they didn't pack their hands like they used to do with Isaac Haas and Nish.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, the trainers that have to pack all of Isaac Haas's limbs is a very difficult job. Please respect their, respect the work that
they're not only a lot of them. There's like 4 of them, but also they're heavy.
Huge. Yeah, they're big. Yeah. Well, and then the under 16 timeout
really big cases like a roadie, right? I mean,
exactly. And if you leave behind, it's like, what do you?
Yeah. And then from there, I think I said to you, they were, I think it was 29-13 after that under 16. Purdue went on a little, put it away. That was it. Because then it was an even game in the second half. So that feeling where it's like Purdue's just holding them at bay for the whole second half, that's exactly what happened. They both scored, I think, 38 and it was very uneventful and boring. But
in the first half, the people that kind of got it together was Wheeler, the rock of Purdue's offense.
Right.
I mean, and over the last 3 or 4 games now, he's actually been quite phenomenal.
Oh, he's been great.
He may be legitimately the best basketball he's played at Purdue.
Well, maybe there's a kind of a vacuum type thing. Maybe Trey Williams and Wheeler share some sort of maybe it's a vision thing. I don't know.
It's like the Highlander. There can only be one.
There can only be one. Exactly. But it's weird. Trey has fallen off and Wheeler stepped up. Now, if they could both play well at the same time, that'd be pretty nifty.
I mean, it's been very, and, speaking of this, it's been very, it's at times it's been difficult, in the second half of the season watching Sasha kind of come back after COVID. And a lot of athletes who have recovered from COVID across sports have said that it's taken them, weeks, if not months to get back to, what they feel like is normal in terms of their stamina.
All the things they deal with, right? Because you're dealing with stuff that affects your lungs. So, I mean, I had a chest cold 2 weeks ago. Okay. Just a normal chest cold. I think I'm the only person in America that still gets colds. But, I got a chest cold and I've been swimming to try to exercise and I could not do anything. And I was like, so pardon me, Sasha's dealing with something much more severe than I was, but it attacks your lungs. But then you've got the thing where I think it was 10 days by himself.
Oh gosh,
Goodness gracious!
That's-
Goodness gracious!
Now,
so
as a father, that sounds actually amazing. But,
Yeah,
but when I was in college,
man.
as an old man, a married father, I would love to be in isolation for 10 days. That sounds amazing.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like, but in the first half, the moment, honestly, there were two moments when the game got, what was completely kind of in hand for Purdue, and it was a 3-pointer with about 8 minutes left in the first half by Sasha to put Purdue up 16-11, and then a 3 with about 4 minutes left in the first half to put Purdue up 28-16, and that was it. After that, it was, the game was entirely in hand. It was about constantly a 10-point lead. And, IU made a couple runs, but Purdue was kind of just held them at bay like a cartoon.
Is it me or are they? Because I look at the box score, like to your point, I'm looking at this and Purdue had 2 guys in double figures. Edie had 20, Ivy had 17. Nobody else even had 10.
Oh, and
They were very even, though, until
if you're looking at
10 minutes left.
Yeah, look at the shot chart. I mean, like the shot chart, and maybe I can like share things. I can share screens on this. I don't know.
Share screen.
Yeah.
Be careful. You don't know what's on your screen.
Technology.
But I was going to say, while you're figuring that out, IU feels like I don't know. Maybe it's just another mark of just a bad team that, despite their talent, is a bad team. Like when they get down, like you said, those couple shots, that was it. That was it. They weren't gonna come back from that. Like we've seen good teams and good programs that are well coached, like come back from pretty amazing depths, and you get them down 10, 12 points and it feels over. And it really is. Like I keep repeating it because I just can't believe that's the case right now. Because they're not lacking for talent.
Absolutely wild.
That's not been their problem though for years. That's the thing. Let's go back a long time. Right. They've had talent in the stable over and over and over. No continuity, no definitive, no identity.
When was the last time they lacked for talent? It probably does it predate us being at Purdue?
Yeah, I mean, like this much talent, absolutely. Look at this shot chart, though. I mean, like he
came with graphs and
look at this. First of all,
I feel like I'm with
how incredible is technology? How incredible is the? But like,
it's awesome.
Purdue is like a perfect shot. There are very few mid-range shots. It's all 3-pointers or layups. It wasn't as good as the last IU Purdue game.
What are you doing with those mid-range jumpers? That is not part of the game today.
Right around here, I have no idea. It's these Al Durham and Fennessy they just decide to take it over. What this tells me is that IU has talent, but Archie has nothing to put no system to put them in. Like it doesn't. I mean, like it. I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me. But anyway, like first of all, I just wanted to see if I could do that whole screen share thing, and that's pretty fun.
I'm trying to screen share right now. I don't know if you guys can see me.
Well, I am the I am the keeper of the screen share here.
Well, so this is going to be like a look at that.
Woo! What is it? What is this? This looks like what are we doing?
Oh boy, it's going off the rails.
Yeah, sorry, I'll stop that. That's one of the I guess stop screen share. I'm sorry, guys. This
was so professional. And
it really did. And I ruined it. It was really good until I got in here. I'm sorry. Let's do that.
So did you see? Well, I know that you tweeted it. I forget which one it was now. It's one of the seeding metrics things that we follow. Was it Haslam? Mm-hmm. Has Purdue as a 3?
Yes, 3.
As a 3. What?
Yeah, I can't believe that. I mean,
well,
I don't know where you guys stand on this. To me, to work yourself into the 3 line, they'd have to go to the championship of the Big Ten tournament. I think.
You're going to be
and you know what I think about the Big Ten tournament. I don't give a damn about that.
Hey,
I don't think the committee even knows it exists.
Let's talk about the Big Ten tournament. Let's talk about how much. So if Purdue fails to win the Big Ten tournament, is this season an absolute abject failure?
What?
Yeah.
If they fail to win the Big Ten tournament,
yeah, they have to win it. You have to win it.
So much pressure on them.
I know. Well, think about who we're talking to here. Nish believes very much in the Big Ten tournament. I think we had an argument about this a year or two ago.
I believe in the Big Ten regular season. Nobody has ever argued for the Big Ten tournament.
Really?
Yeah.
If only we recorded these.
Yeah. I've always been on the
record, an archive.
I bet there is. I believe we had an argument about success in the tournament versus success in the Big Ten tournament, and I thought maybe it was Michael. Let's disparage Michael. He's not on.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that's easier. That's a good idea.
That's easier. And he's not smart enough to fight back. He doesn't even.
He'd never be able.
Doesn't have a computer or internet. So
nope.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that tournament. I love how everyone's super excited about, the increasing likelihood of the double bye, but the reward is you probably play Ohio State and then Michigan, and then like Illinois or something. Like that is nice.
Congratulations.
I know that Purdue beat Ohio State twice already, but it's like I never want to play a team 3 times.
No, absolutely not.
And they're playing a lot better than they were.
Well, they're healthy now. They weren't healthy. They were down one starter each time, I think. I think they were down Liddell the first time, and I think they were down Walker the second time.
Maybe we can negotiate like this time. You guys, I think it's only fair.
Yeah. Listen, it's worth asking. If you don't ask,
they're not going to do it. Exactly, they're not going to volunteer.
Say, well, you guys want to make this kind of a sporting thing? That's
yeah.
So Ruffians
obviously very good. You need to be down a man.
Ruffians agrees that the Big Ten season is all that matters. I guess I'm assuming he means a regular season, and I tend to agree. Yeah. I don't know if it all that matters.
Well, I think that so I know Jay and I are in lockstep. I don't know Anish where he stands on this, but the Big Ten season to me is the place where Purdue grows up, gets better every year. Painter's gotten better at it as a program coach the last 5-7 years, I think. And then to me, I am perpetually pointing at the NCAA tournament. That's it for me. To me, it makes so much, because if you're ready for the NCAA tournament, if Purdue comes ready for the NCAA tournament, that probably means they had a pretty good Big Ten season, right? I mean, so, and we've seen Big Ten championships. I like them. I don't hate them winning a Big Ten regular season championship. I don't care about the tournament at all, just because the only time I've ever seen a team make a quantifiable jump coming out of the Big Ten tournament, maybe you guys can correct me, is the time Michigan made that magical run in their practice uniforms, right? When they went through Purdue to get to, they either won the championship or 2 years ago.
I like the Big Ten regular seasons. To me, regular seasons, they both matter. I think regular season, championships is, it's the bigger sample size. It's, it tells me it tells me which programs are most stable and which coaches are really good at it. The tournament is just more fun. Nobody is like, Purdue's won 24 Big Ten tournaments or Big Ten regular seasons, the most of all time. And that's great, but nobody cares. Like, nobody's bragging about that. You know what I mean?
Purdue is.
But I guess. But like, it's more fun. Like I think the Big Ten regular seasons tell you more about the health of a program and blah, blah, blah. I'm already boring myself. Like, that's like it, it tells you that it's good, but I would also like, a run. Now, the one exception to that, though, is something like this year where, Purdue obviously didn't win it, but for Purdue to be in the kind of top of the Big Ten in a year like this, when every team, some of these unexpected teams have taken over the Big Ten, and every team is really solid, maybe the strongest Big Ten in years, and this Purdue team is the youngest team in the country. I mean, it's.
Yeah,
I think the showing this year in the Big Ten is, has been quite wonderful. So I enjoy that. But that being said, yes, I want to see a deep tourney run. I don't know about this year, but at least during these, during this freshman classes year, that'd be fun.
Well, and that actually brings me to something I was thinking about asking you guys. Like, obviously, anything can happen in the NCAA tournament. We know that. But there's a weird thing for me with a team this young and talented, right, that we see play phenomenal games sometimes and then sleepwalk other times, like they did at the beginning of this game. Like it feels like more than ever a really early or really early exit or a really deep run. Neither would be totally shocking because the season is weird. The team is, if they're in a groove, and we've said this many times too, all depends on your draw, right? If you get a seeding that you really like, oh my gosh, the matchups, this kind of team, we've said it a bunch, right? They're a tough matchup team. Like, you get the right run of games where you're not, truly just out talented by a, blue blood that's just totally loaded, which fortunately there are fewer this year. What slows this team down, do you think? Another Virginia type team, because they always do?
Michigan.
Well, they're not going to face Michigan in the big tournament, though. Not for a long time, one would assume.
Well, hopefully. To me, the hardest thing about Purdue, if you're playing Purdue, is that Purdue has all this depth, right? And they have parts that can plug in. So unlike many years when Purdue's coming into a tournament, if somebody gets in foul trouble, it's not the end of the world. And that's what we keep seeing. That's the recurring theme in the last 2 weeks, right? And that makes them a tougher out. If Purdue were to play a team like you're talking about that is a blue blood, but they're top heavy and they get in the foul trouble, it could spell doom, And it's fun to think about. I've got something that I want to confess to you guys. I've been doing it a lot off the air, and I do it during the quick cast too. And that is. I can't wait.
What is I was going to say, is this why your camera's off?
That's right. I don't have pants on. No, the biggest thing is that I've been pointing at next year, and I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to expand about this. I've been pointing at next year for months about how much fun it's going to be next year. And I think I've been missing a little bit of the ride, how good this year is, right? To me, there's a life lesson in that, because we've talked about all along how fun this team is to watch, right? But to say, why the hell? We've already, all of us have had kind of a throwaway year, which has sucked, and we know how much a year means. Why would I look forward to next year and not enjoy this one for what it is, right? These guys, this team, how magical is it that you have a team that's the 343rd oldest team in America in college basketball, right? But they're playing teams like Wisconsin, which is like top 10 oldest teams in basketball. And they're just competing with them, going toe to toe with them, showing moxie, showing grit. New guys step up every night. Even when your superstar or your guy that everybody thought, a month ago, Trey Williams was a shoo-in for either all Big Ten or second team. He disappears for 4 games now, right? And the team still manages to win and win and win. They now have their longest winning streak of the season. I think this was 5. That's a big deal, and that shows the maturity that this young team is getting. I think the youth, though, is going to be, some games you're just like, wow, what is happening? Like, they just look like a completely different team, and we've seen that a couple times, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, it's first of all, the games where all of them are off is, are much more rare now.
Well, that makes me laugh, though, just because that was something we, as Purdue fans, we were really dealing with that in December, right? Where everybody, you're like, wow, there's no one. They look like IU right now in the beginning of the season, which is crazy how far they've come.
What's crazy is that it seems like there was a coaching staff that made sure that they got a little more consistent and put them in better places to succeed.
So wait, you're saying the coaches worked with the team to make them better? Are you saying that?
Not only can you talk to your players during the game to make them a little better or put them in better positions, but you can also practice or talk to them during the season, watch film, strategize during the season. It's pretty crazy. Someone should tell Archie this.
Draw little pictures on a plastic board and say, you go over here and you do this. And
in this area, you should be there when this guy is here.
That's pretty great.
Throw him the basketball.
A quick question. If you have questions, put them wherever questions go. I don't know. Some of them will be able to go on the screen. Some of them
where they go.
Okay.
Stick those questions. So the first person, before you read this one,
stick your questions.
The first person who I put up the link earlier for this, and literally the first response was from Troy. I'm not even going to say Troy's last name because whatever, Troy. And he just writes back, horrendous.
If Troy's an IU fan, then maybe.
No, he's a Purdue guy.
Maybe Troy was
Another
talking about
satisfied customer.
Maybe he was just talking about IU's effort. It was a bad game. I'm not going to lie. Wasn't a fun game. So question from Robert Raney. Zach Edey has to have another freshman of the week honors wrapped up. Will Purdue grab all 3 freshman team spots or 4 that they deserve?
Three.
I don't know. I actually think it might be it'll be closer to 3 than 4. I think we may be disappointed and only get 2, which is a real possibility.
Ooh.
Yeah, maybe the
media
boo
voters.
Hey, man, that this platform doesn't allow for pop-up effects just yet.
There's a good question. Do you see that Hank asked a very important question to Anish? What are you drinking?
What am I drinking?
Looks like a stout.
It is a stout.
Wow.
Bell's, drop the bag, and we will advertise you.
Right.
Bell's Brewery. Drop the bag,
It's real simple.
and I will tell you what I'm drinking.
Patrick Pence says teams doubling Williams have seemed to really bother him. I think that's true, but he's been doubled all season, right? I mean, don't you guys agree, or do you? I mean, is it different the way he's being defended? I think it's different the way he's playing. I have a theory that maybe Trey just has a chest cold. I saw a couple games ago he was spitting into a trash can or throwing up at the end of a game, and I think
it's like when you get
a car. Louis, right? Yeah.
It's like when you get a car and then you see that car, that's the only car you see on the road. Right. I think you just got a chest cold, and now you see chest colds everywhere.
Exactly. Yes. It's all about me. The world is revolving. My wife, she just like you're talking about this car thing, she said to me about 6 months ago, a year ago, she said, "Are Audis new in America?"
No,
and
she didn't.
Said, yes, she did. Yeah, she did. And she said, they're really cool. And I said, well, when I was in 3rd grade, a friend of mine's dad got an Audi. It was awesome. Silver Quattro wagon.
Relative to the history of the world or of America, sure.
But really not, though. They've been in America for a long time. But yeah, I think as humans, we do this, right? I think you're correct. And I don't know if I'm giving Trey the benefit of the doubt because I don't think he's forgotten how to play basketball.
No, and it was just 2-3 weeks ago when Trey was dominating Minnesota and Michigan State, right? Even though the Minnesota game was the last one that Purdue lost, but he was dominating Michigan State, and that's no small feat.
He's stepping aside and giving other guys.
Nate Kavicki says he appreciates you too. I assume it's not me. I wouldn't. But he likes.
I mean, you can only. It is a very visual medium, and so podcasting.
So podcasting, and clearly that's what improves it. Is our faces.
Oh yeah. But in reality, Indiana's length and doubling may have bothered him. It's probably why Trevion doesn't do particularly well, at least this year so far. Hasn't against Dickinson and Michigan's length and athleticism. But that's a thing that, Trevion's style is not great against it, and is what it is. When you can't bully, he might be slowed down. Zach Edey was wonderful. And that's what I would like to talk.
Yes,
he is. It's not like that's the thing. I think we can say it now that it's now a trend. Him playing really well, really solidly, kind of bailing out bad offensive sets. It's a thing now, right? It's not it happened one game, 2 games. Well, now this is what he does. He's such a handful. And if you look at he's getting more minutes. I don't know if you guys have heard this ad nauseum. If you watch any of the Painter pressers during the week, he calls Trevion and Edey one person, really. He says, okay, our center had a total of this many points and this many rebounds. So it's funny because I don't know. I really think Painter may think it's illegal for both of them to play at the same time.
Well, in today's basketball,
I would love. There were games this year where I was like, man, you're playing a big, slow, lumbering team. It'd be nice. Throw 2 centers at them, see what they can do. Because they weren't. I can't remember which game it was. It's in the last 5 games where Purdue played somebody who was just absolutely struggling with both Williams and Trey, and they had the guards in foul trouble. And I was like, throw them both in there. Just get in there and just see what happens. Why not try?
What's fun though is that the Gillis's emergence is a reason that you don't have to, right? And so you can always have one of them on the court, and Gillis can just slide, and now Wheeler can slide to the 4 and can fill in at the 4.
And the team's totally different with him at the 4 too, which is awesome, right? Totally different look. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, that center had 26 points and 16 rebounds.
He's really good.
It gives you a view into how he methodically looks at this, and I think that's right. I think it's fine, and I sometimes wonder about that whole. And we actually have someone who just made a comment about the one center thing. Yeah, and that's true. That's true. We've talked about that in the past. He rarely ever put. He's had 2 big guys many times and has rarely put them on the floor together. But I think it's hard to run that offense. I think that's part of it, right? With 2 gigantic guys.
The last time was he tried because there was no credible 4. Or maybe it was just constraints of the roster and Vince wasn't ready to slide over to the 4. But that was when Swanigan and Haas were here, and both of them kind of demanded playing time. I mean, Haas was a lot better than all of us thought he would be, and Swanigan was Swanigan. But that was Swanigan's freshman year, I think. I think Hank, by the time Swanigan's sophomore year came around, it was pretty much one or the other.
But Hammonds and Haas were on the same roster.
And that was beforehand. That was before that.
You didn't do it then either. Almost never.
There was a couple runs, which was absurd. I mean, both of them are plotting. It's not like one of them can step out.
That's what I think.
No, not at all. Do you guys remember when Purdue played Florida State? I think it may have been that year. There were 28 feet of 4 men on the court at one point. Do you remember that? It was such a weird thing.
Wait, hold on. Sorry, you cut out. You cut out there for a second. Could you say that again?
That sounds like a title.
I'm going to try again. I'm going to make another run at this. There were 4 7-footers, I think, on the court at the same time. That was a little better. That was a little less clumsy. Because Florida State, I think they talked about the size of Purdue and Florida State that year. How weird it was. You had so many 7-footers at one place. I mean, it was a incredible meeting. But let me ask you guys one question, and this is a little off the track, but and I don't mean to rain on anybody's parade, so I probably shouldn't even bring this up, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Over under. How many players on the roster this year? I'll give you one is the over under. How many players are going to depart at the end of this season for one reason or another?
Oh, you are Chief Thundercloud.
Oh, yeah. What a question!
What a jerk. I think I'm a jerk for saying it, but
how many are gonna? Did you just say
depart for one reason or another? So
I actually think this team comes back pretty intact. And then adds the 2 freshman pieces.
I mean, how magical again would it be with those if it stays intact and add those 2 parts? I mean, my gosh.
I mean, but the difference between last year and this year, right, is that you could see discontent last year.
Yes.
And there were no younger kind of, players to start to force some of the older ones out. This freshman class made a huge difference, obviously. But yeah, it seems, right. Wheeler maybe, but even Wheeler, I don't know.
I don't think Wheeler's going anywhere. I don't think Wheeler's going anywhere. So. I think he likes his teammates a lot. I get the idea. These guys they're friends. To
be fair, I think Harms liked his teammates a lot too.
That's true.
But
he's been getting great, and he's been getting, he's been doing really. It turned out to be a really good decision.
Really good,
right?
But the thing that I remind everybody about Harms, he had one of the most unusual, extenuating circumstances. This is why I've been giving this guy so much. I'm like, man, I hated to see him go, but I get why he went. Right? He had the injury during the season, or injuries. Right? He did not have a good season. Then I heard he broke up with his girlfriend in February. Then this is the kicker. This is the weird one. He was on campus by himself for a month.
Yeah, that's right.
Nobody there. That in itself, he couldn't get out, right? You couldn't leave. You couldn't get on a plane. That one is so bad. Think about that. Because if you look back, when the tournaments get called off, Harms was the guy laughing, having fun, walking dogs. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And he was in a Purdue basketball video with that shtick, it was kind of like,
Wasn't
he's
he-
found his place.
Wasn't he also
Like-
doing like community outreach?
Yes!
Like he was involved in
Yes!
local stuff, and he was not unhappy with Purdue. I don't think.
No, it was such a weird thing, and I don't blame the guy one bit. Can you guys imagine for a second being in a ghost town, a weird ghost town, where literally no one's out, no one's there?
Yeah.
I can't.
And you're
I
not
can't
from
stop.
there.
You're not from
You know,
there. Yeah, I
but
mean, gosh, no comfort
the
food,
thing-
like literally and figuratively. That's horrible.
So the thing though is that
Speaking of comfort food,
You know,
AJ's in
when-
Lafayette.
Oh yeah. Hey, if I wanted AJ's and I was on campus, what would I do?
You would go to AJ's at Indonesian.
AJ's.com.
Well, no, if I was on
AJ's.com,
campus, I would actually go to AJ's. I thought that
No,
was the
because
trick.
you're not. The young people, they don't like leaving their couch. They just
That's
like someone
true.
coming. They come
The
to the
young
door,
people,
and then
the
they're
young
not-
people,
when-
I'm just as
I'm
guilty.
45. Listen, so you want some food? What you do? I understand. You get on your phone and you just mash it with
That
your
dash
palm.
door thing.
Yep, you get the dash door, and then someone magically comes to your door and you just go, "Ugh!" And then they throw it into your apartment, and then you don't
Yeah.
even have to move.
You can tip them; they'll bring it
Stuff.
right to your recliner if you want.
Yes,
Mhm.
Bring it over
they'll
here.
feed
Should.
you
Yes.
like grapes, like a emperor on your throne.
Grapes and beer. Does Eat AJ's? Can they deliver you a pint? I really don't know.
Oh,
that
that's become a thing during this. Some municipalities
Wow.
are allowing
That's like-
delivery of alcohol, which is dangerous and wonderful at the same time.
Yeah.
I do want to. You guys are making me think about. As you just said, there's no ill feelings. I don't think from us towards a guy like Harms.
No.
So I don't want this question to come off like at all like that. But how big a part does the No-Gel and Harms departures play in this team
Development
becoming
of other guys.
wow?
Right? Yeah.
Like we tried to
And
look
so-
at it from the start. Like there's the upside to this, right? Maybe it'll
Yep.
be a bad
Yep.
season, but man, these guys are going to all play. And wow, like
Yeah.
You know, and that's the question, right? Is that like on one hand, Harms probably left because I'll put that back up because we're talking about Harms here. But Harms probably left, because on one hand he wanted kind of more playing time, different situation, kind of putting himself in a better position. BYU has been really good in the last couple of years, and the competition in that league, it's a different set of eyes. Who knows about Harm's ability at the next level, whether it's in this country or in Europe or what have you. But the other thing is like Purdue, like there was no sign that Purdue was going to be contender this quickly,
no.
right?
No.
Or Purdue is going to be important at all this quickly or relevant at all. And we even thought that, hey, if you're on the right side of the bubble this year, that is that's the best place to be. That's kind of the goal. That is a great way. That's a great measuring stick for this season. But now all of these players are happy. It seemed like are happy. Now the front court logjam is going to be a thing. So I'm not sure entirely how that gets solved next year, with Gillis being a lot better than we thought, Trevion getting another year, Edie being, instantly great kind of out of the box. And now, Purdue adds two centers in first and Trace Jackson Davis. Oh no. Trey Kaufman, the other three named power forward.
Is it Ren? Is that his?
Yeah, Trey Kaufman, Ren, TKR. And so the front court logjam is going to be a thing, but I don't know who in the front court is going to be departing at least next year. And Purdue is kind of, poised for a run and relevance. And if you shine on this Purdue team, you'll get kind of national attention. So I don't know. It's a good question. It's a good question how to handle that.
I don't know. I don't know. I think this. There's a lot of things when you look at it's an excellent problem to have for Painter, obviously, where you have a bunch of guys that prove that they could do it this year, and then you look at, well, next year you might not get as many of opportunities depending on how these freshmen come along and what they are right out of the box. Painter is not a guy, though. He obviously didn't promise these guys anything. I don't think he does. I don't think the guys that now come to Purdue are promised a damn thing. I really don't.
No,
I think
I
they're
agree.
promised the opportunity, right? And I think these guys are coming in with their eyes open to that. I'm just playing probability here in that, like somebody mentioned, Thompson could be a guy that leaves for greener pastures. The reason I don't think that is because his counsel is PJ and his parents. And they have been nothing but pro Purdue for the last 6 years. I think that part matters a lot, right? And we always talk about the mystery of who's in the guy's ear, who's telling them, maybe you should go someplace, maybe you shouldn't go someplace. Right. We don't know that. We can never know that. But I just don't hear Thompson getting that type of counsel, especially since his brother's literally on staff.
No, and he's at a position that Purdue needs. I mean, like Purdue actually needs, Morton or Thompson to kind of, take the next step, because, another ball handler off of, Ivy or, right now Hunter, like, is desperately needed. And hopefully it's Morton or Thompson. And I think they'll get a lot more leash and a lot more run next year than some of the bigs and then some of the forwards. So, to me, I think it's a lot more likely that the guards get get kind of playing time. And the other thing is that you never know when injuries will hit, right? And so you never know when, this kind of next, the next wave of your playing time could come and your opportunity could come. And all of these players are so young that, you want to transfer and play right away. Right. And so being a grad transfer, you have to be in that third year to, to start to, contemplate it. So, to me, I think that it's going to be weird next year, but it's going to be a run. This year has been, I think an unequivocal success. Like, I think, it's, no matter what the Big Ten tournament or March, it's been better than I think any of us now hoped. Now, would a surprise Final Four run be nice?
Be acceptable.
I'm not asking for much.
You know what, guys? If they go into the tournament as a 4 or a 3, then you have to have some raised expectations. You can no longer be, well, it's just a throwaway season. They're playing above their heads. That if you've proven it over a Big Ten in a season where, let's not forget, the Big Ten isn't weak. It's not like one of those years where, like a 96 Purdue team that just, you didn't know how they even did it, but they won the conference, right? This is a tough conference, and they're talking about with what, 2 number 1s and 2 number 2s?
Yeah, there's 2 number
projected
1s.
And 2s.
Yeah. And they're legit. It's not like, to me, if you watch enough college basketball, if you watch enough last 2 weeks, those 2 teams, Illinois and Michigan, look completely like number 1s. They look very tough. Illinois has found.
I'm terrified of Illinois.
Yeah, and why shouldn't you be? I mean, is AO back? By the way, is he healthy now?
He will be by the time. He's playing today, but by the time the tournament will come, he'll be fine.
Well, that's the old joke, right? I think, Anish, you pointed this out to me. Somebody in the national media would always say that when Purdue was good, the conference was down, and when Purdue's bad, the conference. Or when, right? Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
And to me,
the other way around, but sure.
Yeah. Okay, you guys get the point. The whole point is that I think they've thrown things kind of on their ear, and they've. If people don't see the gauntlet being thrown down proverbially for Purdue right now, by Purdue, like you're saying, okay, hey, this was a fun transition year, and we're really damn good right now.
And we're still a top 3 or top 4 in the conference team with it was a transition year. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like in every advanced metric, I mean, like, I showed the shot chart. I mean, that is analytics dream right there.
Mm-hmm.
The shot chart, the efficiencies, offensive and defensive are off the charts. This team right now is really good. And now Patrick Pence brings up a good point. Outside shot consistency is an issue, but now it seems like Sasha's back and hitting those kind of shots, and he seems to be getting better and better each game. Having Sasha as kind of that consistent presence, and then Newman had a few stretches today where he was great. And the other thing is that I sent this to the group chat. Purdue started this season without any perimeter defenders that were. That could be relied on. And now Purdue has, Wheeler is kind of coming into his own. Ivy is, Ivy's a kind of free safety, like menace, because he's long and he's athletic and he pops
terrifying.
Into, and then once that fast break starts and Ivy's leading it, that's it. And then, the best defender on the court turned out to be Hunter. Sasha has been really good. So all of a sudden you have 4 really good wing defenders. It works out really well. So, while, in that middle when Sasha wasn't at his peak, I think, there was concern, but I think that now both perimeter defense and hitting shots, I think they're, I think we're good.
Yeah, I think this team, I mean, the funny thing, I think as Purdue fans, or if you're me, I don't want to put words into you guys' mouth. But the biggest thing is I can, and you guys know this, I can get super negative really quickly. And when I see this team do what it does, where flex out, get a lead, let the lead fall away, we've gotten used to that in the first half. But in the second half, I generally, by that 5-7 minute mark, I want to see Purdue kind of putting its foot down and saying, okay, I'm going to take this game, right? And when they don't, I get pretty negative, and I'm like, damn it, they've done it again. If they would have only had a guy who could hit a 3 right now, they would have. But I think you can say you've had a fair field of data to say this team knows exactly what to do to win games. It may not be exciting right now. I think next year it's going to be damn exciting, and I think that's one thing about this team next year being a media darling and being a potential top 10 team is they have a great team, and then on top of that, they're going to have one of the most athletic, dynamic players in America. And that piece right there, having a guy that fills highlight reels and fills your Instagram feed,
as we saw,
moly, and he's doing it in so many different ways, right? I mean, the one thing that I love that his ability to drive, get up, and dish at that point is pretty fun too, right? Not just playing above the rim, but getting rid of the ball and having 2-3 guys collapse on him in the lane. Ooh.
That's the thing is both Carson, who was the last player that fit this mold, obviously, and Ivy are both like unselfish dudes that that have the ability to just take the game over in very different ways. I mean, like, they're very different players. But the fun part about both of them is that they are they will, even if they have it going, Ivy will make that pass. Like, it kind of, if he's in midair and he sees, Newman or Sasha in the corner, like, he has no problem making that pass. And he's it's a different, this team is really likable. This team is really, great to watch. And, I think right now this team is dynamic. Next year, everybody has a year kind of under their belts and has a summer, practicing together. And 2 other, front court pieces that are going to be really tough to match up with. So, to me, I think, here's another one. Ivy is the king of the broken play. Yeah. I mean, like, whenever things are going south, it's Ivy or, even it's
Edey.
become, yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's become to the point where Edey has also been able to just salvage these possessions because he's just so huge and unafraid of dunking the ball, which is wonderful. He's a one-track mind, right? I mean, that's the thing that's so fun. Is Blackman said this tonight. He said, I wouldn't want to be a rim because he looks like he's mad at that rim and he's going to try to rip it off. When he gets he gets position, which he does get position. He's so great at that. And then he just turns and looks for something to tear off, right? He's amazing. Does
he let out the battle scream when he does that?
He did tonight, and I can this afternoon because I heard it on the radio when he dunked he had a putback dunk that he kind of came in from nowhere. I didn't see the play yet. I will watch it later. But he went,
yes,
like kind of primal,
he did it a few times, and I thought I was hearing something piped in because when he turns back to run down the court and you see him on camera, you're like, look at that sweet young boy's face.
Exactly.
He looks like a kid still because he's so young, and you're like, is he making that noise? Because mercy, that sounds just, man, like, it's intimidating. It's got to be hard to deal with.
The other thing is that I can forgive today's kind of ugly game because, like, a Purdue-IU game with honestly no stakes. IU isn't going to make, even if they beat Purdue, they weren't going to make the tournament. Purdue winning or losing to IU, it wasn't really going to affect their seed that much, I don't think.
No, I agree.
So there are no stakes. There was no
stake.
It's not like there were no, and there were no, the crowd wasn't there.
Somebody say steak.
Yeah. So to me, like, these were, the moments like that we got out of Edey, and, the moments like that we got out of Sasha, and, the moments like that we got out of Ivy, and, the moments like that we got out of Newman, and, the moments like that we got out of Sasha, and, the moments like that we got out of Ivy, and, the moments like that we got out of Newman, and, the moments like that we got out of Sasha, and, the moments like that we got out of Ivy, and, the moments like that we got out of Newman, and, the moments like that we got out of Sasha, and, the moments like that we got out of Ivy, and, the moments like that we got out of Newman, and, the moments like that we got out of Sasha, and, the moments like that we got out of Ivy, and, the moments like that we got out of Newman, and, the moments like that we got out of Sasha, and, the moments like that we got out of Ivy, and, the moments like that we got out of Newman, and, the moments like that we got out of Sasha, and, the moments like that we got out of Ivy, and, the moments like that we got out of Newman, and, the moments like that we got kind of creating offense when, the things slowed down, or seeing Sasha hit these threes. It makes me feel good. We are hitting the hour mark. We will be back sometime in the next week after the Big Ten tournament, which we all really care about.
Oof, man,
We'll
cannot wait. Your 6-part
hey, let
preview
me
of the Big Ten tournament.
I want to give you guys something to chew on real quickly. Back in mid-January, I remember all I was doing is a calculation. You can tell me exactly when this was, because I knew Purdue had already moved past Nebraska, so that tells you the time frame. They weren't going to get that extra Nebraska game, and all I was trying to do is get Purdue to 10-9. Okay, like I was going through, and you look at where they stand now in the conference standings. It's incredible. I think they have 13 or 14 wins right now. 13. Right? Yep. So that's an incredible sign of growth, because as a fan who is, I was just like, okay, all I think I've read over and over by these people that are talking, they know about the tournament, is that you need to get to 500. So I was like, how do they get to 10-9? And at one point I was like, they're not going to get to 10-9. And now look at that's an incredible 6-game swing. What an amazing job of growth. And I give Painter all the credit here.
I mean, like since the new year, Purdue lost to Illinois and Michigan, which fine. Purdue had that close loss to Maryland, which was not great. I mean, that was that's one that you want back. And then the really but honestly, Maryland still not a bad team. Right. And I think, was that on the road? Yeah, that was at Maryland. In 2021, one bad game.
Yep.
And that was, to Minnesota, which, because it was on the road, KenPom actually calls that kind of their KenPom level tier 1 kind of a game. So it was even a 50-50 shot that Purdue would win, would kind of win or lose that one. So, despite all the stats, just because of the strength of the Big Ten this year.
Minnesota was different at that point too, right? I mean, that was like, it's a weird.
They hadn't quit yet.
Man, they have flat out.
It's, I hope IU gives Archie another year. Honest, or 2 or 10.
He's earned it.
I think.
He's earned it.
I think so.
Lifetime, this guy.
Look how serious he looked. He cared, man. He was out there getting texts.
You don't want families.
He wasn't
disrupted.
Coaching his team. He was going to get texts. That's the thing that Rob Blackman described, that as Miller every time out was going out to Borowski. And I don't blame him for going after Borowski. But when you've got a bunch of guys that, like are saying F off and F you, whatever, to each other in the huddle, maybe you should be coaching your guys.
Focus that a little bit. Yeah.
Maybe that's the cue. I think, Mark brings up that, Jeff Goodman said he'd rank Purdue in the top 5 next year. We've always respected Jeff.
Oh, big
Goodman's opinion on this. I think, sure. Yeah.
Big fans of Jeff Goodman.
We've always been huge fans of Jeff Goodman. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So I think
when you guys started that fan club, in fact, I think.
That's right. That's the club we started. Yeah. No. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But we'll be back after the Big Ten tournament and before, around Selection Sunday. We'll figure
somewhere
it
out. Around there.
We don't stick to schedules that
right.
much.
Who needs a schedule?
Not me. But it has been a joy to talk to you all.
Wait.
I can't believe this thing worked.
We'll talk about this next week, but there's no chance Purdue gets a game at Mackey, right? There's no chance.
No, I don't think so. I think
is it? They're legit tournament games. It's not like first 4 games, right? It's like legit games.
The Friday games are at Mackey, I believe. I think there are Friday games at Mackey in the tournament, and they will not be there. So they'll probably be in the Coliseum for weird optics, just to say Purdue played a game in the Pepsi Coliseum. That's what
Pepsi Coliseum.
I don't know. I don't. Is it still called Pepsi Coliseum?
No, but I know exactly what it's the state. It's the state fair one. Yeah. So it's a little. It's significant. Not significant.
Oh, I miss Indiana sometimes.
It's so mercy. Weird. Yeah.
It's very, very weird.
It's where the hockey team used to be. It's where the ice used to play. Yeah.
Oh, really? That's still there?
Yeah, it's still there. Oh, it's still chugging.
You're not gonna knock that building down. It's a tank.
The ice played at Market Square.
Maybe after they got big time. After they got big time. Maybe
I feel like I saw
the
them
other
there.
minor league hockey team. This is all half-field opinions anyway.
Didn't they get knocked out of the IHL or whatever it was?
IHL went under.
Yeah, it didn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But frankly, I can't believe that this live stream worked. We're going to try to do this more often.
It's great.
Right on.
So thank you all for joining us, and good evening.
Love you guys.
Good night. Love you guys. Good night.